Hello, welcome to The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It is Monday, the 15th of August, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter Diane Burns.
A pleasure.
And she's lead animator at Riot Games, Tea Time Animation co-founder, and a yo-yo aficionado. It's Lana Bashinsky.
Nailed it. You really stuck the landing and you sounded confident while you did it, which I think is really what made it for me.
Isn't that the most important thing, that it didn't sound at all forced and like I had written it down before to say, make sure you say Lana like banana, not Lana like banana.
Banana.
But it was a very confusing way to write it down because I just read it as make sure you say Lana like banana, not Lana like banana.
Yeah, it doesn't like visually work so well when you're trying to get the phonetics of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, you got there. Just next time delete the question mark at the end of the sentence, and you got it. You got it.
Well, I was checking that we had the right guest. That's all the question was. I was like,
Yeah.
I think Lana's here. I'm not sure.
I was looking forward to
no.
speaking to Lana though, so maybe next week.
Yeah, next time. I'll throw a mustache on and we can do this again.
Lana is a supervillain.
Yes.
Very excited to have you here. Now, you and I mean, know each other is very strong. This is the most we've ever spoken.
Yes.
But
this is 100% as much like our first time physically speaking together.
totally, yeah. We have both vaguely committed via Twitter DMs to one day playing Heroes of the Storm together. But other than that, but I know you from the DLC podcast, where you were a frequent guest, and now you're basically a host on their paid DLC show. But you also work at Riot Games. Can you tell us a little bit about you, your journey, your life, your hopes, your dreams, your fears? Mainly, probably just the game stuff.
Yeah, we'll stick to the games journey, less of the expressing my fears on a global stage.
Yep.
But I'm a lead animator at Riot, which is still weird to say because I got promoted just in March. I work in research and development at Riot Games, which means I can't really tell you the specifics of what I do. But I spent a year on a video game called League of Legends, making legendary content for the Skins team, including Spirit Blossom Ari, who is my favorite. Dark Cosmic Lux and Spirit Blossom Thresh were some of my favorite skins I worked on there.
Amazing.
Before that, I worked at Blizzard Entertainment on a game called Heroes of the Storm, which I still love it.
Yep.
Play it all the time.
Yep.
I worked on many, many different heroes, many different skins. And before that, I was in school to be an animator. And so pretty short story, but that's really the whole journey.
Like the story of I was in school and then I instantly just started making skins
Of the biggest companies
for the
on
biggest
the planet.
yeah, exactly. Like two of the biggest game companies in the world. You're like, that's it.
I mean-
Indies.
I mean, not to like totally just like throw in a plug immediately, but if you listen to this week's paid DLC, or I guess last week's paid DLC, I talked a bit about like I went to school so that I could work at Blizzard, and I'm really happy it worked out. But that was like my mission, and so it's sort of mission accomplished. I got an internship there back in 2012, and I realized I just like named companies. But I assume people know what like being an animator is. I don't know if you want me to like dive into
Basically
what
just like art, right?
that is.
Just art. You just do art. I think it's just you just draw. You're a drawer, right? You're a drawer.
I'm a drawer. That's how I usually explain it. Like lead drawer in motion.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask? See, I was a little confused. Not only by the whole Lana banana thing, but on your Twitter bio it says lead animator, and I wasn't sure if it meant you're a lead animator or you're the lead animator.
I'm a lead animator.
And so, do you aspire to be the lead animator?
I aspire to be a game director.
Oh,
Good.
Nice.
Yeah, fuck animation.
Okay, no, you know what? I take it back. I aspire to be the game director of what? I don't know yet, but
Yep.
the game director.
Because I think that role is currently held by Hideo Kojima, in his head at least.
Yes,
He is the
yeah.
game director. Well, it's an absolute pleasure having you here. as well. And before we start, what games are you currently playing at the moment? Obviously, you can't talk about anything that you're working on, but is there anything you're playing at the moment that you're keen on?
Yes. This morning, actually, I started Chicory. I don't know if anybody's played that yet.
Yes.
It is delightful. Oh my gosh. I just finished like the second boss fight, maybe third boss fight. There's like one that's kind of like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's kind of a cat head, but like the whole experience between how you're playing, like navigating around and using your paintbrush and the music and the visuals, it is just so stunning. I really am really enjoying it so far. And it's all about being an artist and like having confidence. At least that's what it seems to be so far. So really enjoying Chicory, and then otherwise just like a couple regulars. I'm playing League, I'm playing Heroes, and I'm playing Fortnite. It's like go between those and like something new is my pattern.
Yeah, that's my pattern too.
Yeah,
Pete
plays.
I play 3 games.
Yeah,
and then I try and break away.
Then you try and play something new just so you could talk about it on the show. And that's the only
totally.
reason you play anything other than Halo and Dota.
Yeah.
Lana, are you worried about one day you might leave Riot Games, but you'll have to continue playing League of Legends because you're still playing Heroes of the Storm after leaving Blizzard? And so it's like every time you leave a company, it's like, well, I still need to continue playing. You need to, I guess I'm saying the next company you go to needs to be a small narrative-based 20-minute experience.
Yes. Yep. Like solo play and like no repeatability, because then I'll just get lost in it forever. No, I'm not that worried about it because I play League mostly because I'm like, oh, I should play League of Legends. That's I feel obligated to play League of Legends, and every once in a while I'll be like, no, I don't want to brag. I'm pretty good at Heroes of the Storm. Pretty good, and I feel like very competent, and so my brain says, oh great, I should just be great at League, and mechanically I can like nail my combos, like I know my characters really well, but I still like don't know what most of the other champions do, so I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna take this guy down, and they're like, that is your direct counter. You're not going to take that guy down. Do not go in for that kill because you won't get it. And my friends are usually right.
Isn't that like half of any MOBA is just going like, oh, I don't understand anything of what the opponent's doing right now.
I feel like it's like 10% of the MOBA is knowing your own thing, and the other 90% is knowing also every other character in the game pretty intimately. And so I haven't really stuck the 90%.
Yeah, right. Okay. Master of the 10%.
Oh yeah.
It's like being a doctor. Like you could know everything about the heart, but you can't really go in there and fuck around with it without knowing everything else in the body, because you could do some serious damage. Before we get started, I just loved Heroes of the Storm so much. I don't have time to play it. I mean, I used to play Dota, and then I moved to Heroes of the Storm because I had my first child, and it was like, I just need something shorter that doesn't lock me into those time commitments. And fuck, it was so much fun. Also, map-based objective stuff was just, I think that also is something with League I always struggle with, is just like, oh God, there's so many things I should be doing on this map right now, that I should be putting wards in a certain place and do like rotating and timing. And Heroes was so much more focused about just like, hit that fucking chest, get those coins, deliver those coins to that pirate.
And it was like, what if MOBAs were fun? that was Heroes of the Storm in a nutshell.
Yeah. What if MOBAs were like took out all the bullshit last hitting and instead just let you team fight, which is what you really want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't that be great?
Exactly. And then, but I will say, I was the host of the local League of Legends esports scene here for a couple of years, so I pretended to know a lot about League of Legends. But I have been playing a lot of Wild Rift, which I think is a really phenomenal version of a MOBA. Like, I mean, it is just League on the phone, but it does a lot of that where it condenses everything down. So you just kind of, there's a lot more action, a lot more fighting in a much shorter time period. Yeah, I've been a really big fan of that as well. So
I really am impressed with how Wild Rift came together. And of course, again, I work at Riot, so, call me a shill if you want. I think it's great. I think it's super fun. And not to brag, I do have 100% win rate in Wild Rift. And yeah, I've only played 5 games, but this is 100%, and now it's going to stay that way.
Wild Rift is the 10% that you've mastered.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, we have certainly mastered the intro. Let's move on now, Pete, because this news is not going to break itself. The backup is presented by one of our top Stitch patrons and the best evil person we know, the inventor of the weekend. 2 days? Only 2 days? What a horrible tease. That's a bad first draft, and we need to double it at least. Evil Spy Boy. Evil Spy Boy is also bringing us the backup, and get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out in the chat, because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup. He's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provide regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students at schools across the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 kids each month seek food relief from their charities. Donate at foodbank.org.au. There's a link in chat right now, thanks to Nightbot, and head to tasteofmultifish.com for more of Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. All right, let's back up and look at the biggest stories of the week, as voted on by us, the host of the backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. And Lana, please start us off with what story made you back up and say, hey, that's a pretty big story.
Well, first of all, I want to say that little intro bumper was so pleasant. What a delightful little thing.
Wait for the next one.
But the story that made me back up and say, whoa, is the Netflix games story from Kotaku. Netflix has some great games, but nobody is playing them. Should I give a rundown? Do you give a rundown? Should I talk about it?
Tell us about what about that story sort of caught your eye.
Okay, so, well, the thing that made me say, well, hold up, and guys, this is just saying, maybe I'm a little out of touch, is like, I knew Netflix was like buying game studios and making games, but they're like, I didn't know they were out. I didn't know that was even a thing I could already do. And so that's like really the part that made me say, oh, hold up here. But Netflix has offered games as a part of their subscription since last year, starting with 5 titles, 2 of which were Stranger Things games.
Yeah.
Now they're up to 25 different games, including Into the Breach, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 1% of Netflix audience are using the games feature. Last year, Netflix COO Greg Peters told investors it plans to be experimental and they're going to try a bunch of things, and explained that the company's long-term prize of creating popular games that are connected to hit Netflix shows. So all of that together paints me a very weird picture, because okay, I'm not surprised that people aren't using it, but
it's hard to use something that you don't know exists.
Is one of the things that they're going to experiment with is like marketing it, perhaps advertising.
It's so funny, isn't it? Like even with Stranger Things, they don't do enough marketing. So how do how do their smaller features get seen, let alone their games arm? Like, where are they promoting this stuff?
And you'd think the games arm, as far as I can tell, it's only as part of like the mobile app. But I don't know about y'all, but when I'm like, if you're a gamer,
mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking of like Netflix's audience, mm-hmm. I know much of the world uses their phone as like their main source of gaming. I don't know Netflix's reach in regions that use their phone as their main source of gaming, but not even mentioning it on the Netflix page. Like, you'd think that it'd be like, hey, don't forget, you can use the Netflix app on your phone and play these cool games. You'd think they would have it somewhere.
Totally.
But the thing that doesn't surprise me is for me, if I'm turning on Netflix, I've turned my game brain off. And so whether I'd be opening the Netflix app on my phone or on the television, I am not thinking of it as a place to go play games. I'm like, it's veg out time. It's time to turn my brain off. Maybe like my hands are busy, some popcorn, a little snacky situation. It's not game time. And so they have to change that perception of themselves as a single use application.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing that surprised me, and I've played a lot of Point P. Let me tell you, Point P is a fine video game.
This is the third video game he plays. It's Dota, Halo, and Point P.
And Point P. The thing that surprised me when I went to play it, because I heard that it came out somehow, not sure, and went to check it out. I think just people on Twitter were talking about how good it is. And I went to download it and play it. And the way that you do it, it's like you download from the App Store like you would any other game, and then you log in with your Netflix account to play. So you don't need to log into the Netflix app. You don't launch games by going to the Netflix app and then having to trawl through to the games section of it or anything. They're a
Oh.
Netflix like published title, and you go and find them on the App Store as you would any regular game and log in, and your Netflix account is what gives you permission to play it. So it's actually reasonably seamless in that way from any other mobile gaming experience. However, it still doesn't give you access to a catalog of what Netflix is offering because you're still at the mercy of the Google Play algorithm or the App Store algorithm. And that's pushing, for me, still freaking some town builder game that Orlando Bloom is on the front of or something. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, he's advertising some like castle defense game or some shit. But like, it's
Gotta do
always
something.
that stuff, and not like you would think that Netflix could organize to be on the front page of pretty much every app store. So that's where they should be. And also, and to your point of on the television as well, give me a QR code. Just go, hey, there's games.
Yeah.
You're using your phone while you're watching Netflix anyway, because you're not actually watching Netflix.
No
So
one
just-
has ever watched anything on Netflix without at one point picking up their phone and going, "There's probably something else I could be doing right now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many barriers to entry that shouldn't be there because it's Netflix.
They also have so much, I mean, time with like how much time and technology has Netflix put into just like the browsing visual interface algorithm, like surfacing what you would think that they would leverage this powerful visual tool for engagement in a way that surfaces their own content.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that's how it works. I feel
mean-
very foolish for that. But
No. But
No, not at
we
all.
we all have to remember that Netflix is a company that started by posting you DVDs in the mail. So, they are just replicating that initial launch of what their current service is with games, which is this is currently the dumbest way to do it. And we will figure out the good way of how to get these games in front of you.
next, they're going to mail you QR codes on a piece of paper. That would be the next piece.
The thing that because I played a couple of Netflix, I played Pompey, I played Into the Breach. The only reason I knew about Pompey is because Pete won't shut the fuck up about it. The only reason that I knew about Into the Breach is because Into the Breach got an update. It's a phenomenal game, and with that update, they announced that they're going to be on mobile thanks to Netflix, and it's free. So you go to the App Store, and so I went to the App Store, I downloaded it. So then today, when I saw this story, I was like, yeah, I should probably have a look at the app because I've never seen it on the TV, like you said, and I should probably have a look at the Netflix app and just see if the games are on there, because I don't remember seeing them at all. So I scrolled through the Netflix app, and they are there. They're under the top 10 like TV shows in Australia. There's this like list of Netflix games, but it literally looks like an ad. And I realize I have scrolled past that with my eyes every single time because it looks like a banner ad for something. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit about that. And then I move on, and I'm like, okay, I'm up to season 3, episode 20 of my Seinfeld rewatch. And then the other thing with the games is that the first couple of games they've got in here are Dragon Up, Card Blast, Townsman: A Kingdom Rebuilt. And they all just look like your most classic mobile, like, you know, fucking...
Townsman.
Yeah, I'm sure they're great, but also they look like bullshit icons where you just go, oh, this is just the same thing that wants my money all the time. And it's not until I scroll pretty far through that I get to something that I'm relatively interested in, which is Pompey, or Into the Breach. I think that when I think of Netflix and games, I think that there's also a bit of a disconnect where I don't think of them as this mobile game company. I think of Netflix as being like, you should have these big story-based games that kind of are like the thing that you are known for, which is storytelling and this laid-back experience. And then you can get me in that way and then pivot me to something else. And I did have a look, and I saw that Immortality by Sam Barlow is coming to Netflix, which is the Her Story dev. And I don't know if you played Her Story, Lana, but it was phenomenal. Cannot wait for Immortality. And that's the kind of thing where I'm like, that will probably be something that I would go, oh, if I can get that for free through Netflix, that's a great way to experience what is essentially a story-based game. But at the moment, mobile games just don't really click with me in the headspace, like you said, of what Netflix is. And I think that that's probably part of the problem.
One of the things that gets me, I think that's like a really great point.
Thank you
Give
so
A
much.
wonderful tie-in. You're welcome. You're welcome. You look like you needed a little.
I did it.
There, so.
It's a Monday morning.
You needed a W. Like having story-based games is a part of it. Like, ooh, Netflix tells story. We make these movies. That makes sense. The thing that like also makes me be like, is to me, I hear like, oh, we want to do a bunch of games that are tie-ins to popular shows. Based on what I saw, I haven't played them. They could be excellent. This is not disparaging the dev teams, but like Stranger Things and Stranger Things 3, the game. I'm like, I'll just watch the show. Is it straight? Is it like, oh, there's something else in the world that's like, oh, Stranger Things, something's happening in Europe too.
Yeah.
Like, but it's a different story in that world. I'd be like, okay, cool. Let's take a look. I want to live in that Stranger Things world and experience it. But if it's just a recreation of the shows, I'm like, isn't this the kind of thing that would come on a CD-ROM and a box of
Yeah. And you're telling me you wouldn't want to play the Adam Sandler collection?
I would play the shit out of that. You just get to kick Rob Schneider in the groin over and over and over again on a tropical island somewhere for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like one of those live action video games too. So they really got Rob Schneider.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah. I think
FMV, yeah.
You're totally right, because I think that it's also like, I guess, who are they trying to attract? With that, it feels like, obviously, they produce Stranger Things, so it's a bit of a no-brainer to have the Stranger Things game on their platform. But that, to me, like, most people who are hardcore gamers have really ingrained, built-in negative connotations with like tie-in video games. So it's like, well, that's not drawing. That's the last thing on your service I want to play. Even if it's amazing, I haven't heard that at all. It's the last thing I want to pick up. Maybe it's the casual person who wants to play that. But they've also got a Queen's Gambit game coming, which is like a chess tutorial teacher game. I love chess.
Oh, okay.
But it's like,
I was like, is it just chess? I have that app for free on my phone, I think.
you just do a lot of drugs, and it says lie down on your bed and stare at the ceiling, and that's the game. Spoilers for Queen's Gambit. That's half the show. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how Netflix progress this. I read the Netflix the book from the Netflix founder, and the name of it is completely falling out of my head. Netflix book, and it's called
How to Fail on a Spectacular Scale.
Well, it was like No Rules, Netflix and the Culture of Reinvention. Came out about a year and a half before Netflix seems to be, it's a sort of free fall at the moment. but their whole thing was they have a philosophy of crawl, walk, run. So they very much do things slowly with iteration. They don't want to go out, dump a huge amount of money and do this big grand thing and it doesn't work and it fails spectacularly. So they want to fail in small ways and hopefully iterate and develop from there. So we'll see what it turns into. I still don't know how I feel. I kind of just want Netflix, just stay pure. Just stay that. I don't need... It's like if Steam started being like, hey, do you want to watch, like, we made a TV show? I don't want that.
I don't know. The thing that like makes me nervous is like crawl, walk, run. Like, sure, that's really great. But they also seemed like they had like a whole bunch of really amazing initiatives, specifically around promoting diverse creators and diverse people in the animation industry specifically. And then they kind of went through and they're like, actually, we lost money, and then like wiped out all of those projects. Yeah. And I'm like, okay,
but here's Stranger Things 3, the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, well, they might like try something cool, but if it's not like immediately making money for them, I mean, they're business, but that's just like seeing their priorities of like what they choose to cut first versus Stranger Things doing the game. And again, that would suck for those developers if that got cut too, but
hopefully none of them are watching right now, because like we're really going hard on Stranger Things 3, the game.
Why didn't they do Stranger Things season 1 then 2? It's weird that they only have 1 and 3.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
It's odd.
Anyway, yeah, they they lost 1.2 million subscribers since the beginning of this year, and then Netflix has like done a ton of layoffs. They cut a bunch of spending, canceled a bunch of shows. So we'll see if the game's bet is going to pay off for them in the long run. You know, if Point P and Into the Breach are like the two things that point to like
Pete, she
big
did not
thumbs up.
Netflix.
She did not put any respect in the Point P name when she said that. That was worse than Lana.
Is it Point P? Sure. That'll
Say
carry
it with joy in your heart. It doesn't matter how it's supposed to be pronounced, but as long as it's said with joy, it comes out well.
Can I get a taste?
Poinpy.
Excellent. Good. All right. Well, we're not going to get a better button on that story than that. So, Peter, what story caught your eye this week?
So a while back, Bungie sued, and they like to sue. Bungie was suing left, right, and center, but particularly like cheat developers. They had success with one case. They took aim at AIM junkies, who are quite a popular cheats seller, and they had lost. A lot of their case was thrown out, and they refiled, claiming that AIM junkies had basically stolen some of Bungie's code in order to help them develop the cheats that sit on top. And so that was their new angle to get this thing shut down. And Eurogamer is reporting that Bungie was allowed more time to reinstate its case a few weeks after that initial failure. Alleged that it was a reverse engineering of software code for Destiny 2. The AIM junkies has come back on that point and said that Bungie claims that we caused grievous harm to their game when in fact some of their most popular months of player counts and sales were during the time that AIM junkies offered their software products. And Eurogamer have lifted some of this quote from a Torrent Freak press release that AIM junkies put out, which is just the most like... It's such an aggressively worded press release. It's so funny. It's so come from a child who made a piece of software that they're selling from their bedroom. And here is their defense. Here's another little excerpt that Eurogamer didn't bring up. But understand cheating is not legal. Understand that cheating is not illegal, and the game companies want to make it illegal because they cannot govern their own players. They are looking to the courts to do what they, Bungie, are impotent to do on their own. Even with the vast resources and technologies at their disposal, they would rather suffer death by 1,000 cuts than admit this is not the way to fix the problem. It's like, it's so funny how like childish and aggressive they're being when they sell a product that is cheating in a video game. No one's on your side morally. Maybe the courts will rule in your favor for a little longer. But like, no one wants you to win, AIM junkies.
This press statement, I guarantee you, they go to court. The AIM junkies, sort of 17-year-old kid who developed this, is standing in front of the judge in his dad's suit, and it's a bit too big, and he's got a big knot on the tie, and the judge goes to the defendant, "Has your counsel arrived yet?" And the kid stands up and goes, "Your Honor, I will be defending myself." That has strong "I will be defending myself" energy.
Well, the button on the end of the press release was, "FYI, Bungie, just a friendly reminder, we do still have a First Amendment!" !
Wow. Really remarkable stuff. You know, that's pretty apt writing for a 15-year-old. You know, in the face of a global journalism that's staying cool under pressure and not at all over the top or dramatic.
So I guess like it's interesting to me because every PvP shooter has issues with people out there developing cheats for it. There's teams within, and you'll know better than I do, Lana.
See.
that there's a team within Riot, I'm sure, that is just, how do we fight these fuckers? How do we stay ahead of these fuckers? Is that the case?
Definitely. I don't even know how it works.
No, the people coding the cheats are fuckers.
Oh, okay, no,
Not
those
your-
are
not your colleagues.
Those are totally funny.
I couldn't tell you how it works if I wanted to. I
Yeah.
do know that every game, specifically competitive games, struggle with this, which I always think is so funny. Like, well, just funny from the sense that, like, there's somebody out there in their world who just wants to see headshots pop up,
Yeah.
like with no effort of their own being put in. They just want that. And I'm like, if you want it that badly, you know what? I'm happy to take the L so that you can get what you need to just feel better about your life.
Mhm.
When it comes to like the times that really matter, like competitions and things like that, where there's like real money, real prizes and things like that, I think they have that shit on lock. And so it is what it is. But I haven't played Destiny, so I don't know how rampant, like I don't know how often people get in matches with people that are cheating. So if it's like a rampant issue where it's like every second match somebody is just annihilating, like that's a huge bummer. There's definitely bigger steps that need to be taken. It's funny that, the whole situation like just strikes me as funny, even though it's like very serious to people who like are very passionate about this stuff. So it's funny that people want to cheat that bad to just get that in-game loot. They just want that rare skin so bad. And then there's people who are then like, yeah, let's sue them. And I'm like, it's a game. You can't sue like your dad if he cheats at chess. Like there's things that are, to me, it just shows like the seriousness to which I think the world is ready to accept video games. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not just like,
Such a wholesome attitude to it. You should have written the press statement.
Good take. It's a good take because it's like so many resources go into creating cheats, combating cheating behavior in these games, and like from my perspective, as someone who plays like Halo way too sweatily, that cheating ruins the fun. I can see how it pushes people away from playing the game as well. They come in for what they want to be a fair experience, and people are manipulating the game to win, and they can't. Meaning they can't win. So what's the point in playing in the first place? We've seen COD like do fun things like make people their guns jam and stuff if they're detected with cheating, like code that is cheating and that kind of stuff.
The best one is the COD one where the cheaters are invisible to everyone else. Everyone else on the map is invisible to the cheaters, so they can't see anyone on the map, but they could still get shot, and everyone else can see them. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I saw one of them where the guy was like, if they try to like use anything, that'll just make them launch their body off the nearest cliff.
Excellent.
I was like, that is a hilarious
That's
anti-cheat.
Are we at the point now where we just need to embrace the fact that people are going to do this, formalize it, let aim junkies do their thing, and then have the aim junkies server where everyone in that server is aim junkies? And at the same time, we just have the drug Olympics as well, where everyone's on steroids, and we see how far the human body can actually go.
100%. 100%.
I mean, growing up, I played a lot of Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 and Mysteries of the Sith. And every once in a while, you get in a game where somebody's found some cheat and they just filled the whole level up with water that was invisible, but it'll drown you. And as frustrating as those moments were, like being able to go onto a server where there's like cheats enabled and you could like turn on random things and affect the gravity, I think giving people a space to be creative will be great. But even if you make that space that's separate, like 100%, there's still going to be people that are like, yeah, but I'm going to make my aimbot and I'm going to go into the ranked matches and ruin people's time. Yeah. Like, I don't think there's any way to stop that because some people just, whether they're like trying to fake it till you make it to get to streamer fame or like just
want to watch your world
feeling
burn.
Sad.
Yeah, weren't hugged
like,
enough
I
as a
don't know.
child. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know what it is. I don't think there's a way to stop it. I think there are ways to make people find a positive experience in like a separate section like that. But even if you do that, I don't think there's any way to knock it off other than trying to find any way that you can to fight them, whether that's like crazy strict anti-cheat or
Well, I think that
suing them personally.
Well, I think first of all, we should definitely sue all these people just so we can get these kinds of press statements out of them.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
more.
It's worth a couple of days of a lawyer filing a motion to be able to get something like that. A lot of people in chat are saying that companies already do that by isolating cheaters. But what Pete is talking about is not just like shadow banning them to some, but it is genuinely like a lobby that is the cheater lobby. And I actually think that's kind of a great idea, because what it could do is create an arms race. It could do something that satisfies the people who want to do that, which is like, sure, of course you could win by cheating against people who don't have cheats. Can you win against people who are all cheating? And what can you develop to try to beat those people who are now? And so you're actually, it's actually like there's a meta game here of like trying to one up the people who are trying to one up you. And I think that there's something genuinely interesting about like going, this is a formalized thing in the same way that we know that we're never going to beat drugs. So you go into a public bathroom and there are like needle dispensers,
some drugs.
or needle receptacles and stuff. So of course you do some drugs in the bathroom. And then you, so first of all, you shit out the bag of drugs and then you unwrap the bag of drugs. But you know, it's like, well, we can't stop you doing heroin in the bathroom. We don't want those needles in the playground, so we've put a thing here to put the needles in. And if you use that, then we've kind of established this thing where we can make this work. And we could do the same kind of thing with cheaters, is what I'm saying.
I think that that's like very possible, but I think any time that you get that kind of creator space, and depending what people are tuning into the game for, like, well, at least it'd be, I can't imagine the legal, like, documents and jargon that you need to write to be like, even if like, what if what are they called, the cheaters, what if the aim junkies server on Destiny 2 becomes the most popular version of the game? It'd be incredible. But also, like, at what point, like,
now get
totally
90% of the profits,
like, exactly. At what point are they going to sue and be like, everything we're doing is what's actually making your company money? And like, so then I'd be like, great, finally.
And now,
or like,
now Lana's actually employed by aim junkies to make cheat skins. And like,
and I just see, I think that is like a cool idea, but I think there'd be so much red tape to just like create that. And if you're giving them a server, like, do you have to like let them in? Do they then get an actual copy of things? Or are you just being like, we permit you to cheat here, but you have to figure it out still. We're not going to give you the tools to do it.
You know the code you said you didn't take. You can continue to use that code that you said you didn't take.
By the way, I do just want to clarify, because we don't often have an American on the show.
I'm not an American, actually.
Oh, Canadian?
I'm Canadian, yeah.
Oh, okay. First of all,
good Americans.
Good. Yeah, fuck America. Second of all, isn't the First Amendment freedom of speech? How does that apply here? I don't.
Oh yeah,
it's
is
like
it?
The First Amendment is like the right to be able to.
They code with a voice to text.
Oh, right. The First Amendment provides that Congress make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting its free exercise. It protects freedom of speech, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What the fuck does that have to do with cheating and Destiny?
I don't know if you know this, and I'm just going to go out on a limb. I don't really mean any offense to anybody, but there's a lot of people in America that are
crazy,
fucking idiots.
Okay.
So that might be where it comes from.
Okay. Well, speaking of the fucking idiots, I did see it earlier in chat. I'm scrolling up trying to find it. Yeah. Just Lana, a suggestion for you from @OMJ that you could go back to work and petition for a new department being the Riot Games anti-fucker team, which could be a real success. that could be the cheat hunters.
I think that's something that you'd really have to like read.
Yeah.
Because when you just hear it, it's like, what does that mean exactly?
Fair.
James, and you got code name Raft, Riot Anti-Fucker Team.
That's pretty good.
You got internal code.
And you could just call it the Riot oh no, that doesn't work. Anyway, moving on. Good story, Pete. Excellent choice. My story that caught my eye is the announcement of what's coming in Splatoon 3. So Splatoon 3, well, let's say Splatoon 2 and 1, because I haven't played 3 yet. I really enjoyed the first 2 Splatoon games. They're really fun. So I was keen to find out what's coming in the third one. And it's that weird feeling of watching something and going, yeah, this looks great. And also going, wait, isn't this just exactly the same game that I played the last time, but it's been years? They don't even do a yearly release. The announcement sort of went... It was almost like an announcement for the game in the first place. It very much felt like pitching Splatoon like you've never heard what Splatoon is. And I think that there's probably a place for that in the marketing of the game to attract new people. But it really felt like most of the things coming to the game are things that are already in the game, but they're sort of saying it with a high energy voice that makes you think it's new. And then you go, wait, hang on a second. I've been playing that the entire time. Obviously, there's new maps coming. There's some new weapons. There's lots of new characters. There's new stuff in the store, which is really cool. The sort of new stores, in the lobby. They're going a bit harder with the cosmetics and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, Splatoon 3 is much more of the original 2 games, which in some ways is great, but in other ways makes me wish a bit, I guess, that Splatoon was on any other platform other than the Switch, because it feels like it's a game that would benefit from being a live service game, which just Nintendo are not particularly good at doing. And it also feels like a game that I sort of boot up, I play. I tend to not dock my Switch that much, so I'm playing in handheld mode, which is not the best for Splatoon, but it's fine. But if it was something sitting on my PC, it could be something that I boot up after I finish something, I sort of go into it. Because I think Splatoon has a ton of potential. It is a huge seller for Nintendo, so that's why they're releasing a numbered sequel. But I was kind of like, God, seeing all this, it's like this great game trapped on a console that, while it's doing wonderfully there and the Switch is great, I think would have so much more appeal if it's stretched out to other consoles, other platforms, and to be able to really become the thing it is, which is it's a live service game it's essentially a kid shooter, but has some really fun ideas, some really great mechanics, an awesome visual art style, and just needs to sort of iterate in a sort of as it goes, as opposed to these numbered sequels that don't change too much. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know, Lana, about you, if you have played Splatoon or if Splatoon 3 is something that you're excited for.
I've only played Splatoon once, and nobody told me any of the controls or the objective. So I didn't have a great time.
Yeah.
But I do, I've heard so many great things about it. I think the art style is super cute. There's lots of it I like. I'm very surprised to hear that it's not a live service game. I definitely thought that it was. Because while you were talking, like, oh, isn't this what I've played already? Yeah. I was like, well, it's a service game. Like League of Legends doesn't ultimately change that much, but there's like pieces to it that do. And then you're like, well, it's not a service game. And I'm like, well, then I don't know. I have no answers for what you're experiencing.
Yeah, because it's
really surprising.
It's a multiplayer game, but it adds things as it goes over the course of its life, of like events and stuff that come along. But they're generally this recurring thing where like every couple of weeks Salmon Run starts up and you go do that. Mm-hmm. But the thing that happened with Splatoon 1 and the thing that happened with Splatoon 2 is generally people just fall off the games. They're huge at the beginning and they have a pretty good tail, but it's nothing like a Call of Duty or a League or whatever. But then when the next game comes out, sales are huge and people get back into it. It's like nothing's massively changed about this game except for the fact that you released a new one and everyone remembered about Splatoon again, as opposed to being distracted by something else. And if you could capture that market and keep them going with, and they are doing some of that where they are doing bigger content drops apparently with this third one, but it still feels like there is so much opportunity here that is not being taken advantage of, I suppose.
Is there like a single player, like a story or campaign mode to it?
That 2 had introduced elements of that, and I think 3 is going to lean a bit harder on that, and particularly this like hub city and stuff. You know, the kind of the loading area was in the first one, but was this tiny, pretty like bland space. And has become more and more of a point of the game is this social hub. But I don't know how social it is. I don't think, like Nintendo are pretty anti-social. Like, I don't know that you're running around with a bunch of other kids running around that space.
Yeah. There's lots of cool stuff there. There's not a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
It's in a weird place, and I think you're right. It's partly because it's trapped in the Nintendo ecosystem of hardware, but also just development kind of goals or processes. They just they kind of are just, if it works, why change it up? And that's been the mentality since 1989.
Yeah. Maybe they're like, okay, rather than having to support like balance changes through a season, we'll just release the next numbered sequel. And it's kind of the same effect without actually, but it makes people rebuy it.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yes. Yeah. Because their sales numbers for 2 were massive. I think it's like it's in the top 10 best-selling games on the Switch ever. So it does great. This one will be huge. For that aside, some of the things that they're adding are really cool. Salmon Run's going to be on all the time, which might do something. That was the sort of like I think it came every 2 weeks. It came for a weekend or something, and then you could play this special mode. They've got Big Run, which is a bigger version of that sort of thing, and it's like a 3. Because Salmon Run was the.
I was just thinking.
Was that the crab?
No, it's just a dude in the sewer.
Some of the store people are sick. The ones that they've announced. The stores. I'm just trying to find the names of the stores because they are brilliant. I'll get it in a second. But there's the costume store is called Mano Wardrobe, which is just choice.
Very nice. Very nice.
The other thing that they're adding, which is appealing to me, is that there's going to be a card game in the game. So in the lobby system, then in the lobby hub world, you can play this card game, which essentially is a small version of Turf War, which is the mode where how much basically like one of the main modes of you need to cover the most amount of the map with your color paint, and that's how you win the game. And this card game is a version of Turf War that uses Tetris-looking cards to be able to put together, like cover a game board with your color the most. It actually looks pretty creative and like a fun way to pass the time while you're waiting for a match or while you go to the store and you unlock some of the new costumes and that sort of thing and play that. I think it's very much leaning on the Gwent version of like, oh, put in a cool mini game and then maybe that can become something else. But I'm keen to check that out. But like I said, there's not a huge amount that's new in here. I'm really looking forward to it. But it really did just make me go, God, I wish this was on my PC or on a console where I'm playing most of my stuff. And then when I stop playing whatever I'm playing on PC, I'm like, oh, I'll boot up this for a couple of rounds and check back in. And maybe there's a battle pass. Maybe I'll buy this costume. And that just feels like a world where this game would be one of my much more constant games because it is so much fun, but I always just end up kind of forgetting about it, which is sad to me. And that's my fault. That's just because I'm an idiot and I just don't boot up the Switch. And really, I'm just saying Nintendo should make games the way that will work best for me and not for the millions of children whose only console is a Switch and so therefore want to play this game.
They are dipping into live service. I mean, they have Pokemon Unite, the MOBA.
Yeah.
Have you played it?
Yeah.
It's great.
No?
You hate it?
Oh my
God. I was like, there must be some latency. Must be a bit of lag. Because it has to travel all the way across to you. And
all the way. No, I do love it. Sorry, this is now like totally unrelated to what we're talking about.
No one believed you.
No. Why do you hate Pokemon?
Hey, let me tell you this. The Zapdos, I haven't played it in a while because my team would never be at Zapdos when it spawned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get Zapdos, you win. That's just how it works. I'm going to say 99.9% of the time. What a terrible mechanic. Like, you add it, so then, it takes no time to score a goal, and then all the goals are double points. And so you just win. You look at the stupid scoreboard every time. I've been like leagues ahead, and my team doesn't show up to Zapdos because they're so confident. And the other team gets Zapdos, and then they win because obviously it is a golden snitch. Lord Phoenix, that is exactly how I would describe it.
Yeah.
Just a horseshit mechanic and an otherwise pretty fun MOBA.
Excellent.
The 10-minute thing, mwah,
Yeah, so good,
delightful.
so good, and mechanically really solid in terms of like the way that the characters play. Their abilities
Yeah.
are really fun and feel
game
authentic
feel
to
on
the
the Switch
Pokemon
is-
that they were. Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
on the Switch. Yeah,
And
yeah.
thematically, like it's very sweet that they're like scoring baskets and like not
Yeah.
like slaughtering each other in the field. Like there's just so many cute elements to it. I really loved so much about it, except
The fucking
that Zapdos is like
Yeah.
so tilting.
And Lily Pokemon calls out as well. There was some pay to win
That's
or
right.
pay for strong advantage stuff.
I was
particularly
going-
on. I'm not sure how.
Why did I
That's gone.
fall off Pokemon Unite? I went, oh, that's right, because of you equip pins or trinkets or armaments or something, but you you can pay to make them more powerful, and they are totally like genuine percentage game changes where it's like 20% stronger or something, and you just go, oh, that's horrible. That's that's the number one rule of a multiplayer game. Don't add that. All you needed to do was not add that and Zapdos, and you would have had a great game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Well, moving on just very quickly to announcements and delays. Got a fucking ton. Evo 22 happened last weekend, and during that, there were lots of game announcements and that sort of thing, but the one that caught the eye of a lot of the fighting game community, a new Fatal Fury game is coming. The last Fatal Fury game was 1999, so there's a lot of people very excited about that. And then THQ had a presser a couple of days ago, and they announced that a brand new Alone in the Dark survival game is coming. I don't know, Lana, are you a horror game aficionado? Is Alone in the Dark something that... Oh?
I cannot deal with horror movies, horror games, anything. No, not for me.
No, that's fine then. Then I recommend you don't play the brand new Alone in the Dark, which will be coming sometime soon. But it is, I feel like, I did hear, I think it was on the Morning Mess with Timur Hussein and Jeff Grubb, they were talking about it, and Timur was like, it would be good to just have another horror franchise coming at the level of like a Resident Evil, like a competitor to that on the scale of going, the world knows what this is, and is this the game that could do it? Potentially.
Yeah. And with Alan Wake coming back as well, it's...
God, yes.
Well, being remade. There's a couple of games that'll have a similar kind of feel to them and similar energy to them that
Totally.
around the same time, roughly.
Cannot wait for that Alan Wake game. In terms of delays, tons. Midnight Suns has been delayed again, unfortunately. It's coming sometime before March of 2023. So 2K said that they expect it later in this fiscal year without putting an exact date on it. It had already been delayed once or maybe even twice. So we're not getting our Marvel Card Battler anytime soon that isn't Marvel Snap, speaking of pay to win. From ex-Battlefield developer Patrick Sutherland's Embark Studios, Arc Raiders was a sort of Destiny-like game that has been delayed into 2023 as well. Hogwarts Legacy got delayed and is now coming out on February 10th of 2023. It's been delayed a couple of times. It was supposed to be out in 2021, got delayed into this year, and now it's been delayed again into 2023. And Nightingale, which we heard about, I think at the Keeleys or the Key 3.
Yeah,
Jeff Keighley was standing near this game at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's been delayed to 2023. And finally, Metal Slug Tactics has also been delayed to 2023, which out of all of these, except for Midnight Suns, that was the one I was probably looking forward to most. That looks sick. So we'll just need to wait a little bit longer.
Oh well.
No. Oh well. I was like, I was waiting for everyone to be like, for someone to say, well, you know, it's like the Miyamoto quote. You'd rather have game be good, and no one said anything. So it's like, yeah, fuck them. They're just clearly not working hard enough. That's literally all the video game news that came out this week. There's nothing else you need to know.